Hello, my friends. Jacob is here one more time, and why wouldn't I be? This that I'm about to share with you is so incredibly encouraging and just, I don't even know. You want to know how I do these shows? You want to know how all this stuff comes together? Everybody's like, Jacob, how do you find the breadcrumbs? How do you do all this stuff? And how does it come to you? I just pray. I want to seek God. I want to know about God. I want to serve God. I want to be a good man. I want to do the right thing. I want to make the world a better place. So I want to be used. So I ask to be used. And man, I have some things to share with you today. Wow, coming off the last show. By the way, if you're new to the channel, welcome. I'm Jacob Israel. I take things in the world, and what I do is I link them to supernatural and biblical and historical events. Because there's nothing new under the sun. Everything that's happened in the past is happening now. Like Passover. But not just any Passover. The second Passover. You never heard of the second Passover, have you? Well, it's about to happen. It's about to happen at the exact same time that there's something else going on in the world that's just incredibly mind-blowing to me. An eclipse. The first lunar eclipse of 2023. That's 322. That's the order of skull and bones backwards. But that's not why it's cool. The first lunar eclipse is happening. May 5th, May 6th, depending on where you are in the world. It's quite interesting. Really interesting because that eclipse is happening at the exact same time that King Charles is going to be coronated on Jacob's stone, the coronation stone. Whether or not it's the real one, I don't know. If you haven't seen my last video on that, you should. It was from probably a day or two ago, and you really should. It's doing very, very well, and it will get you ready for this show. So go back and watch this show. You just got to go to the page, Jacob Israel on YouTube, and just click it and watch it, and it'll get you ready. And then come back here because you're going to be super excited. Because when I taped that show, I didn't know about this show, which I'm doing right now, about second Passover. Second Passover. I knew about it. I heard about it. But I didn't know at the time when I taped that last one that it coincided with the coronation. Because the last video that I did, I talked about the resurrection of the dead. I talked about this day where God is going to reach out to everyone and then Christ will be risen from the dead. That is our ignorance. Doesn't matter how bad we've been. Doesn't matter how ignorant we've been. It doesn't matter how many stupid things we've done in our life, and I've done plenty. But the moment where God steps in is the moment where we want to be used by God, where we want to be, put on the right path by God, where we want to repent of the nonsense that we've been doing our whole life. We want to love people instead of hate them. We want to forgive our enemies instead of try to hurt them. That's the day we're entering into. This is a chance. The second Passover is a second chance to get it right. Now, why am I saying all this? Because this morning, when I woke up, like I always do, I go to the gym and I pray. I pray, what do I got to talk about today, Lord? But I got into a little thing, and for whatever reason, I was just thinking about my place in the world in the end days. And I was thinking, is there any reference to the Stone of Destiny and everything else? And I was like, I don't know, I was imagining, what if I could get some superpowers from it, right? Because wouldn't that be a cool thing? So I asked ChatGPT, I said, the Stone of Destiny, which, by the way, if you're new and you don't know what the Stone of Destiny is, the Stone of Scone. Some people were upset with me because I kept calling it the Stone of Scone. I just think Stone of Scone sounds better than Stone of Scone. I think Stone of Scone sounds a little silly. I know that that's the way you're supposed to pronounce it. I'm sorry. But Jacob Israel, the guy who came before me, right? He took a little nap on the way, and he has this wonderful, wonderful dream. And he sees this ladder, this stairway. The stairway which I talked about in the last show, where the angels of God were ascending and descending upon him. Now we find out in the New Testament that stone that he slept on, that ladder, that staircase that he saw the angels ascending and descending on, was Christ. The stone, the rock, was Christ. The rock, the stone that the builders refused and rejected, that everybody today, this building society, is rejecting. The fact that God is real. Could you imagine being somebody? And what if, by the way, what if there are people that have been living for thousands of years? What if they're people that are like, they've been around for a long period of time and they're like, they haven't seen God and they think they're God themselves? This was an issue back in the day. That's why God had to shorten their lifespan. Believe it or not, it's in the book of Genesis. You should read it. It's a very cool story. The powerful people, the smart people, the one with all the pull, the one with all the insight and all the knowledge, they were the ones that gave up on God. They forgot about God. They don't understand. They don't understand because they think that they are God. That was the whole thing in the garden, was trying to be like God, eat of that tree. But this is where it gets wild. All right, I'm just going to give you I want to give it to you up front because I know a lot of people don't like to stick around. I know a lot of people that bounce around quick. It's like if you don't give them something quick. So I'm going to give you something quick. So I do this whole show. This eclipse is going down. Now, here's the thing. It's the first eclipse, first lunar eclipse of 2023. We just had the first solar eclipse of 2023 on 4/20, April 20th. I did a whole show about that as well. I talked about Starship. Remember, where a year prior, I brought up the video that I did, and I shared some of it in that video right here, where I had a dream of a SpaceX rocket exploding, and I was hoping that it wouldn't be a terrible thing. And a year later, on 4/20, the Starship, which is supposed to be the thing that gets us to Mars, who's the god of war, blows up. Just like the dream that I had. Interesting. But it's on 4/20. That's the part that is so fascinating to me. Now, why is this fascinating to me? 4/20 being the first solar eclipse, it was a hybrid eclipse. May 5th and 6th, we're going into the first lunar eclipse. But that lunar eclipse lasts exactly 4 hours and 20 minutes long. 4/20. How wild is that? You want to hear weirder? Because you look at the shirt, if you have the I Am a Witness shirt, wherever it is. By the way, you can get all of the stuff that I have, all of the merch is in the description of the video below. But this I Am a Witness, right? Because we're all supposed to be witnesses of God. A witness of God is just somebody who's like, I feel God, I know God, I've seen God, so I'm going to tell you about God. I'm going to give you a testimony. Well, the 11:11, that's been a thing that's really fascinated me for a long time. And I have understood it to be Revelation 11:11, where God breathes life. The witnesses they've been dead, and he breathes life, and he gets them back on their feet, and he gives them life for the first time. Revelation 11:11, which is on this clock right here, which is on my live stream, the clock there, which has been on the clock since I started doing videos back in 2008. I've been on YouTube a long time. I've been doing this a long time. Some of the videos I did, I used to do in the closet at work because I knew God needed me to do what he needed me to do. I should say I needed I needed and wanted to be needed. I wanted to do God's will. I wanted to. So God gave me the opportunity to. So I did. With what little he gave me, I made the most of it. So he gave me a little more, gave me a little more. Now I reach more and more and more people. And now, the day that we're in, I'm here to tell you, we have a second chance. God's going to breathe life into these witnesses, right? Revelation 11:11. So check this out. The eclipse of 2023, the first one that's going to happen, it's going to happen on May 5th. What else is going down around that day? May 5th, May 6th. The second Passover. How interesting is that? But what else is going down on that day? May 5th, May 6th. The coronation of King Charles. The video that I just did. But what else is going on with this eclipse that's interesting? Well, the fact that it starts at exactly 8:41 p.m. and that's International Standard Time. 8:41 p.m. So I'm at the gym and I look at this, and you know what I think? I get this little voice inside of my head will say, inside of my heart will say, the harp. God's playing this harp, right? And that day, the 144,000 are sealed. I just shared something on my website, jacobisrael.com. If you don't know anything about my website, you should go there and you should read. I have hundreds of essays I've written over the years. I just posted an email that my buddy Lancelot Knight, that's right, Sir Lancelot Knight of the Round Table himself, sent me an email, great theologian, and he was talking about the fact that the people are sealed. I think that's fantastic. So check it out. Go to jacobisrael.com. It's in that corner right there, and subscribe. It's free. So I'm at the gym and I'm thinking to myself, I bet you that's 11:11 my time. Why would I say that? Well, because 11:11, because of the merge, because of the clock, because 11:11 has been a thing for me for a long time. I even have a video about 11:11. It's like one of the last viral videos I've had. By the way, the algorithm and all that stuff, it doesn't share my videos as much as I'd like. That's why if you're not sharing the videos, it's not going to reach more people. I think that you should share this video and tell people about the second chance that God has waiting for them. It's a second chance. It's going to blow your mind when you find this out at the end of the show. So keep watching. Don't go anywhere. So I think it's got to be 11:11. I do a little bit of that time date thing. According to the time date thing, guess what? It's 11:11. It's 11:11. My time. And it lasts 4 hours and 20 minutes. First solar eclipse on 4/20. I do a show about that. First lunar eclipse on May 5th going into the 6th when the king's being coronated. And I do a show about that. But this is where it gets wild. It's happening on the second Passover. Now what you say is the second Passover. What is the big deal about that? Well, the big deal about the second Passover is that people missed. A lot of people were like, when God orchestrated the first Passover, which if you know anything about the Passover, you probably understand it had to do with people being set free from Egypt. Okay? Being set free from Egypt. They were slaves in Egypt. Moses came on, right? And they were set free, and they were set into the wilderness. But before they were set free, the first Passover there was death. The death of the firstborn of everything in Egypt. It's a symbol of getting rid of all of carnality. That firstborn of all of Egypt, the first animal, the first human, the first insect, the first idea of who you think you are that was formed in Egypt, which means basically confusion, double straights, double trouble. Not a great place to be. We're supposed to get rid of our life in this world so that we could be set free from it. And then we end up in the wilderness, but the problem is a lot of people miss that first Passover. They miss it. And they were like, some of them were like, I'm on a long journey. I can't make it. Other people were like, I've been dealing with dead bodies. I touch dead bodies. I'm unclean. I can't celebrate the Passover because I'm unclean. There were all these rules about celebrating the Passover. You couldn't celebrate a Passover if you were around a dead body. I just did a video about the resurrection of the dead. Second Passover, it doesn't matter if you've been around a dead body. It doesn't matter if you've done bad things in your life. It doesn't matter how messed up you are. It doesn't matter if you're doing the worst drugs and you just robbed someplace. It doesn't matter. The second Passover is a chance for you to finally go to God. Say, Lord, use me, forgive me, help me to be better, to lay down your life in the world. It's the second Passover. In that day, when they were in the wilderness, they were led by two things. They were led by a cloud by the day, and fire by night. Symbolic, by the way, because a cloud, of course, is the witness of God. The witnesses of God were surrounded by a great cloud of witnesses. And the fire of God, it's like when you do the wrong thing, it's going to burn you. And that's why the fire led them by night. So when you're ignorant and you're doing the wrong thing and you can't see straight, the fire's going to lead you. So if you make a mistake and you bump around in the dark because you don't know any better, you're going to suffer. And that will actually put you back on path. God is going to tell you when to go. God is going to tell you when to stay. That's what happens. It's actually in Numbers chapter 9. Now, I don't know if you know this, but I am not Jewish, right? I am not a Hebrew that I'm aware of. I'm actually Italian and Irish. That's right. My father, who I never met, who's passed on, he's from Ireland. My grandparents are from Italy, so I'm Italian Irish. So I don't really know. It's like I wasn't raised Jewish. I don't know all the feasts and I don't know all that stuff. But because I'm somebody that wants to know God, and I believe that God wants people of all faiths to come to Him. I, over the years, have learned quite a bit, and I'm learning even more. Now, I heard about the second Passover, but I never really paid much attention to it until now, because it's going down at the same time that there's an eclipse, the same time that the king is being coronated on the stone, the rock, right, the Jacob's pillow, which, by the way, this little Jacob over here, the only guy known as the rock, this guy, if you smell what he's cooking, the rock, I wrote for him. How wild is that? Little old Jacob wrote for him. Little old Jacob sold Ivanka Trump a pillow. Trump's daughter, a pillow. Little old Jacob was in the presence of Trump twice. Produced him once. Not produced him, but I was there when we were shooting an interview for a series that I was working on. God has placed me in these amazing places. And I'm just humbled to be able to do this now because of all the things that are coming together. Second Passover. Now, I don't know if you remember correctly or not. This is Uranus is a planet. I used to make jokes about it if you're new. By the way, Uranus is the name for heaven. For years, I just made jokes. I'm like, drink out of Uranus. Because, of course, Planet 9, Planet X, Nibiru, and all this stuff that I've been very interested in. And Uranus has a very strange orbit, and it doesn't rotate. And I just used to laugh saying the word Uranus, so I thought that coming up with a mug, it was one of my first things that I offered as merchandise, is Uranus is a planet. Then I found out that Uranus is actually the name for heaven. So in heaven, where you see the kingdom of heaven is at hand, it actually, in the original text, is like the kingdom of Uranus is at hand. But lately I've been drinking, for whatever reason, I can't even fake it. That's how disgusting it is. Wormwood tea. Now, I don't know why I've been drinking it. I just felt like I was supposed to start drinking it. I told you. For all of you watching, you could tell in the comment section, you could say, that's right, Jacob. We didn't know why you were doing it. Some of you have actually bought it, showed me pictures of you drinking it, and you said it's every bit disgusting that you say that it is, because it really is. It's incredibly bitter. It's like the most bitter. I think like the word for it is like the head. It's like the head of bitterness. Interesting, because it's also a symbol of repentance and God's correction. So I've been drinking wormwood tea, but I was drinking it originally to get rid of parasites because for whatever reason, I don't know, I was on a parasite kick, right? So I started drinking it, but I kept feeling like God wanted me to drink more and more of it. I wasn't planning on drinking it during this show. As I was taping this, I stopped. I felt like, you know what? You got to go and you got to drink some wormwood tea. You know why? Because the second, get ready for some goosebumps, people. To celebrate, this really hits me hard. Because it just, like, I got so many goosebumps and I couldn't. I was like, what are the odds? It's happening at 11:11. It's a second pass. It's a second chance, Lord. There's an eclipse. There's the coronation. It's Jacob's pillow. I'm smack dab in the middle of it, I feel. And to celebrate second Passover, you know what you're supposed to do? Consume wormwood. Bitter herbs. Bitter herbs. This is what you're supposed to do. You do it at the first Passover, you do it at the second Passover. You're supposed to consume bitter herbs. I didn't know that. I wasn't drinking wormwood tea because I knew that the second Passover was coming. I figured this out today as I was doing cardio because that's where I get all of my info. I don't know how this happens. I mean, I know how it happens. I know that God kind of inspires me. You know, here's a little breadcrumb. Pick at this. See where this leads you. And then I go down this path. And it just has given me so much hope. A lot of people are going to say that the days to come are horrible and monstrous and scary. But God has sealed those that are about to at least give their lives to God now. You have a second chance. You haven't missed the boat. All right? You have a second chance. You haven't missed the boat. Speaking of the boat, if you're following me on Twitter, which I hope you are, if you're not, Jacob Israel 71, will you follow me on Twitter because I share there a lot. I give a lot of little breadcrumbs out there. You probably all were like, a lot of people were like, well, you're confusing. Why are you putting this out for no apparent reason? I was like, there is such depth to this. People were like, what are you doing? I don't get it. Well, you get it now. You see why I was so excited about it now. But yeah, follow me on Twitter. But I shared this video right here of a flood that my son Noah stopped. We were unaware that there was a slab leak going on. It must have been going on for a long time because for the last couple of years, I had to continue to have we spent a lot of money. It was like $500 a pop every time because my heat would never work come winter. So they had to put a bunch of water in the line and we didn't have any crazy leaks, so we didn't know where it was. But Noah decided that, he's 22, he's working this hard worker, and he's, finishing up his college and everything else. So proud of him. He's 22 years old. He decides, I want to put down new carpet in my room. And as he's putting down his carpet, he notices that the concrete looks a little weird. And then he notices there's a crack, and it was like there was moisture. So we said, well, maybe there's a slab leak, and there was. Noah, my son Noah, who's known for knowing about the flood before the flood happens. Talk about God being good to me before it got worse, before there was foundational problems or anything else. Brought it to an end. God works in the smallest things, and we have a second chance. You can get into the ark right now. All you gotta do is pray. All you gotta do is, Lord, teach me the truth no matter what the cost. Help me to be better. Every day, help me to be better. Help me to serve you. I don't know what I'm doing. You don't need to go to a church. You don't need to go to a mosque. You don't need to go to a temple. You don't need to go to an imam or a guru. You don't need to go anywhere. All you gotta do is give your life to God. And God is love. It's the best way to put it. God is love. All right? So, second chance. The king is being crowned. And if you saw my last video, you know that 35 was etched into the stone, and that is the date associated with the resurrection of Christ. Craziness is going to happen in the world, people. I'm telling you. It's not going to get easier. But those that are sealed and those that are taking the second chance to celebrate the Passover, put the blood over the doorpost, if you will. Here's the best part about the second Passover. You don't even need to do that anymore. All you got to do is lay down your life in the world. All you got to do is sacrifice that animal. Sacrifice the animal for God. Say, look, I want to lay down my life and I want to give it to you. Do it. Do it. I'm not asking for money. I'm not a pastor. Just Jacob. You can't even say that I have a certain religion. Just Jacob. Jacob's known by everybody, right? Because I have a covenant with God. Get a covenant with God. We're going to get through this. Better days are ahead for those who do. I love each and every one of you. Have fun celebrating the Passover and the coronation of Christ, not just the King of the world. I love each and every one of you, and I'll talk to you soon. Enjoy the trailer of my novel and get a copy of The Call-In if you haven't seen it yet. All right? Bye-bye. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
September 10th. Mars hangs closer to the Earth than it has in 6,000 years. like the light that led men from the east to a child in a manger, it could well be a sign of good things to come. Thomas James shall be his name. The world will change because of him. In the small town of Bethel, in a time not unlike our own, a child with a great purpose is born. Years later, alienated by his peers and abused, Thomas suffers a devastating loss. When it appears he has nothing left to live for in the world, this is when his true calling begins. While trying to escape the sinister powers that be, a terrifying vision haunts him. Miraculous events seem to follow the peculiar young man as he struggles to come to terms with what he was born to do. The stage is set. The time is at hand. The truth will rise and a revolution will begin. The startling revelation of who Thomas James is, truly, will change the lives of those around him and set off a chain of events long ago foretold. There is more to this novel than one might think. Inside these pages hides a treasure just waiting to be discovered. So if you've ever wondered if there's more to life, or why it is we suffer, then this story will not only captivate you, it may just open your eyes to a truth that could set you free. Find out what is in us all that makes us heed the calling.